my channel. My name is Lade. If this is your first time on my channel, you're very much welcome. Please hit the subscribe button, join the family. And if you're a returning subscriber, you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. You know I love you. As you can see from the title, I'll be talking about my life as a pastor's wife. So I specifically put out a question asking you guys on my Instagram if you had any questions for me about being a pastor's wife. So I'm going to go ahead to address some of the issues raised and some of the questions asked on Instagram, and then I'm just going to talk about some other things that came up that I wanted to share. If you guys didn't know, by the way, I'm married to a pastor, and if you've watched my why I moved back to Nigeria video, you would have seen that I'm married to a pastor. If you've not watched it, I'm going to leave the link up. Please go ahead and watch that video. So yes, I'm married to a pastor. Different types of pastors. So my husband used to be a pastor in RCCG, the Redeemed Christian Church of God. Shout out to all my RCCG people. So when we first got married, he was pastoring a parish, one of the pastors in the church. I know how it is, that light with church politics and being in a system. About 2 years after we got married, started the new work, Life Church. I know you want me to mention that, and it's a totally different ball game. It's a totally different gist. I'm married to somebody who not only pastors a church, but God has called him to start a ministry. Like, you guys, that is major. We don't have any format. We don't have any senior pastor. We don't have any general overseer. It's just him. Like, he's the pastor, at least for now, because the church just started last year. So that's the perspective I'm coming from. So when I start to answer your questions, at least you know that that's my background somehow. By the way, you guys, I came from a different church, Christ Embassy. Shout out to my Christ Embassy people. Then I got married to my husband in Redeem. Let me tell you guys, the difference between Christ Embassy and Redeem is large. This is not the video for that, but I had a lot of adjusting to do. First of all, I was coming into a new ministry, and I was coming as a pastor's wife. If you guys want me to talk about that, leave it in the comment section. Let's go into today's video and let me address some of these questions, okay? Everyone has a moment when you want to be solitary. How do you create a balance between the moment you want your alone time and constantly having a bunch of people around? So how do I create a balance? How do I create my me time, my alone time? Okay, at first, to be honest, this was kind of difficult, especially transitioning now into our own ministry. I felt like I always had to be on ground. I always had to be there because the people that are coming to church, people that are around us, they are just pretty new people. They're starting pretty much from the scratch of their Christian life, so they kind of needed to be babied. They kind of needed just to have us there for support. And it was very difficult for me to get my alone time. At the beginning, to be honest, one of the ways that I got my alone time was just picking up my baby and saying she needs a diaper change or she needed to be fed. I needed to breastfeed. So sometimes I'll pick her up and go to a solitary place and just take my phone with me. Sometimes I'll even cuddle her to take a nap or whatever, and then I'll just be there with her. So for the longest time, Zoe was my excuse, but now she screams and she runs all over the place. So that's one of the ways that I got my alone time. Another way I got my alone time or my me time was going to visit my parents. Shout out to Mom K and Daddy K. Yeah, when I go out and see them, I get my alone time because my mom's obsessed with her grandbaby and she's with her grandbaby while I do my own, either praying or just brainstorming or working, So that's another way I get my alone time. You always have to find that alone time. You have to find it. It's not going to just be there. If you leave church people, you will not see space to breathe though. Okay, so another question. How do you separate the man from the pastor? Like, how do you draw the line between reverencing your pastor and angrily correcting your husband when you've been pushed to the wall over something he did as a husband? I hope this question makes sense to me. Absolutely. Thanks, girl. You know yourself. Thank you for this question. I used to like this type of question. Okay, so she said, how do I draw the line? How do I separate between reverencing my husband as pastor, Lord over my head, and also drawing the line between him as pastor and him as man, my husband? First of all, they call it man of God. is not God of God. So he's a man first before he's a man of God. There's blood running through his veins. He's a normal person. You know what? I think why people have this question about pastors and their wives is because most of the time they see the part of him that they see is the pastor part. Of course, because whenever they see him, it's in church or he's their pastor. Of course, he's my pastor too, but I see him more as a husband and as a father more than a pastor. Apart from being a pastor, he is my friend. We don't have to be at home for me to draw the line for him to be a man and for him to be my pastor. I mean, we could be having the chillest conversation, laughing, bawling out, and I'll just ask him a serious question like, so what would you think this, like, how would you interpret this, or something like that. I think the major thing is learning how to separate the pastor from the husband from the father. In terms of him as a husband, maybe that's another video. Please let me know in the comment section if you want me to address that, how to deal with issues with your husband. I used to be honest, I used to flare up, I used to vent to my husband when I'm angry, but I learned later on that that's not the best route, so I don't do that anymore. I don't talk when I'm angry. I mean, I can just let him know how I feel, but I don't do it in a dramatic way that, you know, the earth will stop or something will happen. I let him know my feelings, of course, after I've calmed down. Like I said, we're friends, so most times when he's in his father and husband shoes, my best friend. When he's in his pastor shoe, he's not my best friend though. He'll be in his pastor's shoes during devotion. So it's not as if it's just when we're in church. During devotion in the morning, he could be in his pastor's shoes, and I revere him as that because the words that he says over my life and just generally, I don't play with them. I know that he's a servant. I know that he has a calling. I know that he's a servant of God, and I know that he has a calling on his life. So I don't play with that. Do you ever feel pressure to appear or act a certain way because of whom your husband is? Yes. Especially when I first got married to him. Like I said, he was pastoring a much larger congregation, averagely about 300 to 500. That was too much for me, and you just always feel like all eyes are on you. You know, instead of you doing Thanksgiving, you'll be dancing small instead of you to scatter ground. Anyway, that one has gone with me. Now I used to scatter ground though. Yes, I used to feel pressure to appear and act in a certain way, but not anymore. Now I think my worry now is with the children. It's just one child right now, but I think the children, but I also think that it's not going to be a problem. Train on a child the way you should go, and when he grows up, he will not depart from it. So if you already start to train the child in the way you should go, then you will not have a problem with it. Another thing is that there's an expectation from pastors' children. They should act a certain way, and I don't know if it's this culture or in this part of the world, there's a myth about pastors' children that they end up badly, and that's because a lot of pastor families have issues with balancing ministry, family, balancing the home, balancing parenting, balancing. So most pastors' children turn out messed up. How you start to train your child, how you start to pay attention to your home, because according to Mommy Funke Adejumo, shout out to Mommy, she used to say something. She used to say, if your Christianity doesn't work at home, no bother exporting it. It does happen, oh, people have challenges, and it does happen, you know, that their pastors are doing great things, because, you know, again, the gift of God is without repentance. You can be a pastor, you're touching billions of souls around the world, and your child can be a crackhead, your wife can be addicted to cocaine, like you can be facing like real issues. It's possible, but I think where the matter is knowing that can happen and determining and deciding to deal with it before it starts becoming an issue. Another question I'd like to answer. Very nice. What is the hardest part about being a pastor's wife? The hardest part about being a pastor's wife is that you get to share your husband with everybody else, and everybody wants your husband's time, everybody wants your husband's attention. For me, it was actually pretty bad. Now it has gotten a little bit better because our congregation is not so big, but I know it's getting to the point where that's going to happen again. That's going to be the case again. My husband's attention, see, even if it's 10 people that are in your congregation, all those 10 people are going to want to see pastor when they want to see pastor. They're going to want to talk to pastor when they want to talk to pastor. Yes, so that's the hardest part for me, sharing my husband with everybody else, but I found a way around it, and I think I'm getting better at it. knowing that my husband is my husband at the end of the day, and I still have more time with him than anybody else, because when he's with all those other people, he's in his pastor space. But with me, he can loosen up to be in his husband face, his father face. And another thing that has helped me about this hardest part is finding myself, knowing God for myself, keeping myself occupied, being very productive, and being just very busy. Because sometimes I haven't seen him in a while, we haven't spoken, but it doesn't really bother me, because I know I'll soon see him, and I know I'm busy, and so that's how I'm dealing and coping with that hard part. But that's the hard part. This one's a good one. Hi girl, she says, kudos to you dear. I'm a pastor's child and I understand that life. My question is, how do you cope with all the church politics without feeling overwhelmed? So every church has church politics. Let's just agree. So how do I cope with all the church politics without feeling overwhelmed? I don't need to put my mouth. I think that's the best way I can answer it. I don't need to put my mouth in church politics matter. Apart from being a husband, apart from being a father, apart from being a pastor, my husband, Owolabi, just an individual. He has virtues that give me peace. That no matter how hot the church politics is or was at the time, I know that my husband will not be caught in the middle of church politics. God has given him wisdom and he's a man of character. So he never got in the web. There was a lot of times that, he could have been caught up with the wind of church politics, but God gave him wisdom. So apart from being a pastor, apart from being my husband or a father, or Zoe's father, Juwon is a cool guy. And he's a man of character. So I didn't really have an issue with him getting caught up in church politics. Did I ever feel overwhelmed by church politics? No. I just didn't put my mouth. What are the challenges you are facing as a pastor's wife? The challenge. You know what? It was a challenge for me to create a balance for myself in my head. The new challenge is creating a balance for my husband. It is him that God spoke to about the ministry. If you're married to a pastor, apart from your husband being called into ministry, whether or not you know it, whether or not you like it, if you're married to a pastor, my sister, you are called into ministry. It is the earlier you understand it, the better for you and your husband. Because if you see yourself as like an apart person, like you're not in the picture, if you keep seeing yourself like that, then it's going to create issues for your husband later on, or even you yourself. So your husband heard, yes, but you also need to hear, not the same words your husband heard about the ministry, but you also need to hear what your role is and how you are going to be a helpmeet, how you are going to be a helper to him. So my challenge has been trying to create a balance for him. Like I mentioned earlier, the ministry is new. We're just starting. My husband wants to use every resource available for church. My husband, if you leave my husband, we're not going to eat again. We're not going to wear clothes. We're not going to go out again. We're not going to eat in this house again. Why? Because every resource, everything will be used for church. Like I said, there's no structure right now. There's structure. It's our structure. There's no grand structure that we're working on that. So there's nobody financing the ministry per se. It's just all on us. That's my biggest challenge. Having to sacrifice a lot for church. Oh my God, you guys. Having to sacrifice a lot for church. But you know what? There's joy because it's not just empty sacrifice. Somebody said, looking forward to this. It seems like my life is moving in this direction. I have no specific question. Just interested in learning about your experience so far. So some of the experiences I've had, the one that is going to stand out more than any other one is cooking. We didn't really have this issue when we were pastoring a bigger congregation, when my husband was a pastor at Redeem. I didn't have this issue. But since we started a ministry, you guys, pastor's house, you know what, actually, part of the issue was that the church first started at home. We had fellowships for a few months before we started the church itself. The pastor's house was where service was holding, and it was usually on like Sunday evenings, and I was cooking for like between 13 to 20 people, no lie. Experience so far, I can say number one, just being selfless. This work is a selfless work. The work of being the pastor's wife is selfless. And be ready to give. You have to be very giving. You have to just be ready to provide, not just food, but like emotional support, mental support, advice, just your presence. You need to be there. Another thing I remember from like my experience so far being married to a pastor is that your husband is going to be called upon at times when you're like, wait, what? Really? Are we not allowed to have a life? Are we not allowed to have personal time, personal space? I don't know if it's culture or if it's just Christianity in general. Pastors are like ones you call when there's a problem. There's a health problem, is pastor. If there's a legal problem, is pastor. If there is, I don't know what else, financial problem, is pastor. Police problem, is pastor. I remember one time like my husband got called like at, I don't know, 5 in the morning, somewhere time, and he needed to bail a member. Like, just don't expect people to be perfect. That's what I would say. Like, if you're about to get married to a pastor, or if you're already married and your husband has a calling, or maybe he's about to be ordained a pastor, don't be scared. Get your mind ready that your time is going to be infringed upon, and your husband is going to be called on at any time, because his job is not just like being a doctor or being a lawyer or just even being a 9-to-5 person, a corporate person. The job is like lifetime. It's like a life sentence. So you have said you are living your life for other people, so it's a people thing. Like, you always have people around. There's always going to be people around. There are always going to be people calling for help or assistance, and you need to know that people are not going to come to church perfect. The church is there for the perfecting of the saints. So be ready for different types of people, different attitudes, different energy. Just be ready, and you need to really work on your own inside, your own core, your own joy. I used to say something about having a bubble. Like, I used to imagine when I'm walking that there's a bubble around me where I just have my own bubble of joy, where it doesn't matter the kind of energy anybody is coming close to me with, it will just disintegrate, it will just disappear when it comes close to me. Another thing that I'll add is your emotions. Don't get too emotional. Don't attach too much emotions to something, and sometimes they will say things or do things that might upset you or make you disappointed. Don't let your emotions get into the way. Something I've learned to do in this particular position that I'm in as a pastor's wife is to keep my emotions on their check and use more of my logic. So don't get too emotionally attached to every case, because there's going to be a lot of cases. Another question: are you happy being a pastor's wife? You guys, I am happy. I am very happy. I am living my best life. You know what? Funny enough, I've been knowing I was going to get married to a pastor since I was 8. Ask my sister. Whenever I would do all this kind of, all this drama, children in the house, just let's play mommy and daddy, let's play church, let's play campus, I always wanted to play pastor's wife. And I remember vividly from 8. So I think I was made for this. Even though when I actually entered into it, I saw some things that I think for the most part I was made for this, and I'm happy. So something else I wanted to say that wasn't asked as a question was how did I prepare for this? And you guys, if you really want to know how I prepared for being a pastor's wife, let's see if we can get 100 likes on this video. Then I'll make a whole new video of how did I prepare for it. One of the ways that I prepared for this position that I'm in was to look at people who have been in this position. What did they go through? How did they overcome it? What did they do? What did they do? I was just curious. I was very hungry for knowledge. Pastors all over the world, not just in Nigeria, but majorly Nigeria, that have started ministries, their wives, their children. What are their wives doing? Where are their children? What are their children doing? So that's one of the things that I did. If you guys want to know, let me know by hitting the thumbs up button, and I will share with you some of these women that changed my life and that put things in perspective for me. I feel like talking about them now, but the video is going to be too long. I don't know any of them personally. I wish. Very soon I will share. And I pray for everyone watching this video. If you're a pastor's wife, a minister's wife, or you're a woman in ministry, that God gives you strength, that God gives you wisdom, knowledge, and just the ability to fulfill purpose, to fulfill the work that God has called you to do, because everybody's work is different. So that's all I have on today's video. Don't forget to thumbs up this video, subscribe if you haven't, and until next time, be the best version of you. Bye.